In this video, I'm going to summarize the science of habit formation from my field of psychology into a simple guide that you can use in your own life, even if you're not in therapy. But stick around until the end because I'm going to give you 3 reasons why you might still fail at forming new habits, even if you follow the best scientific advice. And then I'm going to give you 3 ways in which you can overcome those obstacles. But let's start with clarifying what habit formation is, just so that we're on the same page. Habit is the foundation of our lives, and research by Neil and colleagues that was published in the scientific journal called Current Directions in Psychology proves this, because that study found that almost half of our behavior is habit. Almost half of our daily actions is habit. Now think about that. That means that if you master your habits, pretty much half of your life is covered. That's exactly what it means. So it's very important to get our habits under control. When we don't master our habits, that's when things start to fall apart in our health, in our relationships, in our career. But that means that when we do master habits, we have a tremendous amount of power in dictating the course of our lives. So how do you get good at building new habits and breaking old ones? The science of habit can be broken down into just 3 main points. That's all you need to know to have a proper understanding of what habits are and how they're formed. The first part is the behavior. So that is the thing that you're engaging in that we call the habit. But the 2 lesser known parts are what comes just before the habit and right after. What comes just before is called a cue, and that is what triggers the habit to occur. That can be other people, it can be an emotional state, it can be something in your environment that you see or hear, but that's the cue. And then the third and last component is the reward that the habit gets you. So there's something about the behavior of the habit that gets you some sort of reward that makes you want to keep engaging in it. So when you start to analyze the habits in your life, don't just think about the behavior. Think about the cue, behavior, reward. Now let's get a bit more specific on how you can use this information to break habits in your own life and build new healthy ones. If you're trying to break a habit, follow these steps. First, increase your awareness, because you have to be aware of what's triggering the habit. And then you also have to be aware of what the reward is. And sometimes that's enough to be able to change the habit for good. But the second step is that you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that the habit can be changed. If you don't believe that the habit can be changed, you'll never engage in the work that needs to get done to be able to overcome the habit. That is what believing in yourself means. It means that you actually engage in the behaviors that will be helpful. And then the third step is to engage in substitution, which is basically this tool from therapy where you replace the behavior that you usually engage in with some alternative behavior that is not harmful. A lot of people do this with dieting. They'll replace the habit of snacking late at night, perhaps with snacking on healthier things. Now, 2 more tips for breaking a bad habit. As stated earlier, when we find ourselves trapped by a bad habit and we can't seem to escape its pull, it's usually because there's a trigger that keeps activating that bad habit. So for example, if you're trying to stop drinking, there could be another person who's always drinking that triggers you to keep drinking. But once you identify the trigger, there are 2 ways to deal with triggers, 2 tools from therapy that you can use. The first is to avoid the trigger. That's the obvious one. So if you have a friend who keeps drinking and keeps activating your drinking, you avoid seeing them. Just avoid them at all costs. But then the second thing that you can do is to plan for how you're going to deal with the trigger when you encounter it. So if you still need to see this friend, if you can't just scratch them off your friend list, you think about taking a flask to them that has tea in or something else. But whatever you do, you have a plan for when you encounter that trigger. You cannot master your habits until you've mastered the triggers that activate them. So now that we've spoken a bit about breaking bad habits, let's speak a bit about forming new habits that could propel us forward in life. If you're trying to form a new habit that you know could change your life in some positive way, then try to use these 4 tools from therapy. The first is to pick a clear trigger for the habit. That trigger is going to activate the habit and get you into gear. So if you're trying to meditate 5 minutes a day, for example, your trigger could be brushing your teeth. You know that as soon as you brush your teeth, you're going to meditate. You're going to the couch and you're going to meditate for 5 minutes. The second is to clearly define the reward that you're going to place right after the meditation. Because again, if you are rewarded for behavior, it's more likely to continue. So after you meditate for 5 minutes, do something you really like so that you feel rewarded for the meditation. Number 3 is to take baby steps, which is why I suggested 5 minutes of meditation and not an hour. And then the 4th tip is to celebrate your wins. every time you meditate, make sure you literally pat yourself on the back or look in the mirror and say, I did it. Now, a bonus tip for forming habits. If you're trying to change your life through the formation of new habits, then you cannot take it for granted that you will remember to engage in the habit. Oftentimes, people fail to form new habits simply because of the fact that they don't set up reminders. And you can do this in two main ways. One is to leverage technology, because your phone, your laptop, or whatever else you're using has the ability to remind you about these things. Sometimes people can even put that on their watch. But the second strategy that you can use is to tell people that you're trying to engage in this new habit. Bring it up in conversations so that it's in the air, or write it down somewhere so that you remember to engage in the habit. So now that we've spoken about how to break bad habits and how to form good ones, let's talk about sustainability. Because at the end of the day, the power of a habit is only in its ability to be sustained for a long period of time. Your environment should make it easy to engage in good habits, and it should make it difficult to engage in bad habits. So you need to nurture your environment, whether it be physical or social environment. A tool from therapy I often use with my clients is to shape the environment, to think about how can you make it easier to sustain the habit you're trying to engage in. So for example, if you don't want to eat junk food, don't put them in the house or don't leave them open where you can see them. If you're trying to work out more, then leave your gym clothes out, because that is shaping your environment to encourage you to engage in the behavior. But also do this with your social environment. Who are the people that you need to spend more time with? Who are the people that you need to spend less time with? And who are the people that you need to remove from your life entirely? These are all ways in which you can shape your environment to make it easy to engage in good habits and difficult to engage in bad habits. So once you've restructured your environment to help you with your habit formation, you need to think about how you're going to track progress with your habits. How are you going to make sure that you're actually making progress? If you're trying to clean up your habits, make sure you keep a journal where you can track your progress, where you can track how well the habits are going or not going. Tracking it allows you to get the information about when things are going well and when things aren't going well. And when you know when things are going well, you can sort of work out why it's working out for you. And when things aren't going well, you can work out why it's not working out for you. Knowing when things are going good and when things are going bad in terms of your habit formation allows you to adjust your strategy based on whether it's working or whether it's not working. That sounds obvious, but a lot of people don't track what they're doing. They don't track their progress or lack of progress. So you need to make sure that you do that. And once you do that, once you're on this journey of tracking progress, make sure you're also constantly keeping yourself educated on habit formation. I mean, scientists are constantly coming up with new tools and new strategies to help with this kind of stuff. So you want to stay up to date so that when you do adjust based on the progress that you're monitoring, you can adjust with new, fresh, and evidence-based strategies. Now, this is where the plot twist comes in, because even if you have the desire to change your habits and you know the scientific information inside and out, you can still fail to form new habits or to break old ones. And that is because there are oftentimes hidden obstacles, psychological blocks to behaving in the ways that we want to. And I'm going to share with you 3 of those based on my clinical experience as a psychologist. And I'm going to give you some tools from therapy to help you with that. If you failed at mastering your habits, even after reading the best books on habit formation and having all the scientific knowledge, I want you to consider that you might be avoiding negative feelings or unpleasant feelings, whether they be bodily feelings or emotional feelings, because that's often what stops people from forming new habits and engaging in certain behaviors. It's that when you engage in a new habit or when you try to break an old habit, you're met with really uncomfortable feelings. Think about the smoker who goes through nicotine withdrawal. It's very unpleasant. It's an unpleasant feeling. Think about the person who's trying to exercise for the first time. It can be quite unpleasant to pick up heavy weights or to be out of breath when you engage in cardio. So you need to think about how you can learn to tolerate uncomfortable feelings. This is something in therapy that we call distress tolerance, because that will free your behavior. Here are 2 more psychological reasons why you might be struggling to form new behaviors and engage in new habits. The first is that you might be low in willpower, and the second is that your mood might be low. Something that most people don't know is that willpower is a finite resource. Your ability to be disciplined runs out the more you engage in disciplined activities throughout the day. But the good news is that you can increase your capacity to be disciplined. You can give yourself a bigger reservoir, a bigger daily reservoir of discipline and willpower to be able to tap into to help you. And that's something I help people in therapy to do. And the three most basic ways to do that is number one, to get enough sleep, because if you don't get a good night's rest, you won't be as disciplined the next day. Number two is to have a plant-based low GI diet, because that doesn't affect your blood sugar fluctuations as much, which makes you more emotionally stable. And then the third is to engage in exercise, because that increases blood flow to the brain, and especially to the prefrontal cortex, which allows you to put the brakes on impulsive behaviors. But the other reason that you might be struggling to engage in a new habit is because your mood might be low. You might be feeling quite low at the moment. And when we feel low, we lack motivation. We don't feel like engaging in certain things. It's very hard to control ourselves and to initiate things, to initiate behaviors and actions. So if you have a low mood, you have to think about how to engage in mood boosting activities. These are things that usually lift your mood, and they have to be things that you know in your own life have helped you before, because those are the things that we know is going to help you in the future. So there it is. If you can learn how to tolerate uncomfortable feelings, if you can learn how to increase your willpower, and if you can lift your mood, you'll be giving yourself the best psychological foundation to be able to engage in the behaviors that you know you have to engage in to meet your goals in life. Ron Gilbert has this beautiful quote on habits. He says that first we form our habits and then they form us. Your habits are going to sculpt you, whether you like it or not, whether you put effort into it or not, whether you're intentional with your habits or not. Habits are always going to form us. So we need to shape them so that whatever we're shaping can form us in a positive way. But that doesn't just happen. You actually need to invest in it. So invest in it, because as Samuel Johnson once said, the chains of habit are too weak to be felt until they're too strong to be broken.